The 30th General Session of the United Nations Human Rights Council commenced in Geneva, Switzerland today. Speaking during the high-level segment, Sri Lanka's Foreign Minister Mangala Samaraweera enunciated extensively on the human rights situation in the country.
The 30th General Session of the UN Human Rights Council commenced at about 12:30 Sri Lankan time this afternoon under the auspices of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, Said Raad Al Hussein.
It is my honor to declare open the 30th session of the Human Rights Council.
During his address, the High Commissioner also drew attention to Sri Lanka.
On Wednesday, I will release the report of the comprehensive investigation that OHCHR was mandated to conduct in March 2014, including my recommendations. Its findings are of the most serious nature. I welcome the vision shown by President Sirisena since his election in January 2015 and the commitments made by the new government under his leadership. But this Council owes it to Sri Lankans and to its own credibility to ensure an accountability process that produces results, decisively moves beyond the failures of the past, and brings the deep institutional changes needed to guarantee non-recurrence.
The US representative also spoke on Sri Lanka.
The United States will engage with the government of Sri Lanka with the objective to develop a resolution that will gain the consensus support of this Council, and will assist Sri Lanka in achieving meaningful and credible accountability, as well as address the important findings of OHCHR's investigative report.
Speaking subsequently, Foreign Minister Mangala Samaraweera noted that the Sri Lankan government is committed to meaningful reconciliation.
As a government that is responsible and accountable to her people, the National Unity Government remains firm in its resolve to do right by the people of the country, not in the least because of assurances given to the international community at any point in time, but because this is the only path available to ensure justice, remove the causes of terrorism, and achieve a durable peace for the long-suffering people in our country. The government of Sri Lanka recognizes fully that the process of reconciliation involves addressing the broad areas of truth-seeking, justice, reparations and non-recurrence, and for non-recurrence to become truly meaningful, the necessity of reaching a political settlement that addresses the grievances of the Tamil people. With the mandate granted by the people, the President, Prime Minister and the government have already taken some important steps to create the conditions required for initiating a dialogue aimed at a political settlement. Defeating terrorism in Sri Lanka was a necessity. Today we have greater freedom to deal with the cause of terrorism and engage in nation building and peace building as a result of the cessation of hostilities. The armed forces of our country have been hailed in the past for their discipline and professionalism. However, the reputation of the vast majority of the armed forces was tarnished because of the system and culture created by a few positions of responsibility. Therefore, to all those who have doubts about the process of accountability, I would like to say, please don't fear. Maintain your confidence that a process of this nature would impartially observe due process and in fact help restore the good name of the Sri Lankan armed forces.
Minister Samaraweera noted that the government has evolved ideas for setting up independent, credible and empowered mechanisms for the truth-seeking, justice, reparations and guarantees of non-recurrence within the framework of the Constitution. Two mechanisms are to be established for truth-seeking by statute, including a compassionate council consisting of religious dignitaries and a structure composed of commissioners. Minister Samaraweera also noted that an office on missing persons based on the principle of the family's right to know would be set up by statute with expertise from the ICRC and in line with internationally accepted standards. On the right to justice, what is being proposed is for a judicial mechanism with a special council to be set up by statute, taking into account the right of victims to a fair remedy and aiming to address the problem of impunity for human rights violations suffered by all communities.
Mr. President, today we have a government in place which acknowledges the suffering of victims across Sri Lanka's communities, a government which recognizes the mistakes of the past and is all too aware of the weaknesses of our institutions. A government that does not seek to take cover by distorting concepts and principles such as sovereignty for its own selfish ends, but instead remains firmly committed to the welfare of all its citizens, remains open to dialogue and to address difficulties and deficiencies with help and assistance from the international community when required. Therefore, I say to the skeptics, don't judge us by the broken promises, experiences and U-turns of the past. Let us design, define and create our future by our hopes and aspirations and not be held back by the fears and prejudices of the past. Let us not be afraid to engage in meaningful dialogue aimed at finding solutions to problems as opposed to pointing fingers, heaping blames and scoring political points at the expense of future generations. My plea to all of those who have Sri Lanka's well-being on mind, trust us and join us to work together and create the momentum required to move forward and take progressive, meaningful and transformative steps to create a new Sri Lanka. I thank you.